Good afternoon and happy fourth night of Hanukkah. Happy fourth day, actually. So, this week's Torah portion is the portion of Vayigash. It's the epic confrontation between Joseph and Judah. Remember, Joseph said if they wanted Shimon to be able to come out of prison, they had to bring their younger brother Benjamin down. But Jacob refused to let him go because it was his last son left from Rachel, and he was worried something would happen. But when the hunger strikes, Judah convinces him to let him go down. He says, I will be the guarantor. And they come down. And then Joseph plants the goblet in Benjamin's backpack, and he brings him back as a prisoner. And he says, he's going to say, in prison, you guys go up to your father. And that's how last portion ends. And this portion, Judah confronts his brother, not knowing it's his brother. And he pleads with him to allow Benjamin to go. He says, I will stay in his place. And it's at this moment that Joseph sees that his brothers have truly repented and they're ready to sacrifice in any way to protect Benjamin. But it's the last verse of the Aliyah that it's so powerful. Judah looks at his brother, pleading, not knowing it's his brother. And he says, Eich el avi, how can I go up to my father? V'hanar einenu iti, and the lad, the youth, is not with me. V'nafshei kshura b'nafshei, and their souls are bound one to another. And the Rebbe explains this to be like this, right after the Holocaust. The Rebbe revolutionized Judaism. The Rebbe pushed for Jewish communities not to be insular and to share their light and their love for Torah, for godliness, and the values and the teachings of what we are to be Jewish with everyone, secular, observant, Jews that had left Judaism after the Holocaust, but were still Jewish. And many said to the Rebbe, why should we do that? We have to worry about our community, about our families. We'll be insular, we'll protect our own. And the Rebbe quoted this verse. And he said like this, when Judah pleads with Joseph, and he says, Eich el avi, how should I go up to my father? Every day we go to pray 3 times a day in shul, and we plead with God for all our needs. But Eich el avi, how could we approach the master of the universe, God alone? We're giving up on the youth, on the lad, on the future of Judaism, on the Jewish people that were pushed far away from Judaism by circumstances, by pogroms, by crusades, by Holocaust. But yet, although they're far from their Judaism, their souls are bound to God's. How could we forget them? How could we not look after them? And 50 years ago, the Rebbe revolutionized even the mitzvah of Hanukkah. The Rebbe said that the Talmud tells us that Ner Hanukkah, the mitzvah of Hanukkah, is Pirsumei Nisa, to spread the miracle. And that's why you should do it by your window, by your door. In Israel and back in the time of the Talmud, they did it outside. They lit the menorah outside. But then the pogroms and the crusades came and they were too scared to do it. And the Rebbe, when championed bringing the menorahs back out to the public square, and it was lawsuits. The Jewish people themselves fought it, and they said Judaism should be at home. We're Jews at home, but we're citizens outside. And the Rebbe went with a landmark lawsuit. It went all the way up to the Supreme Court, where we won, and the Supreme Court ruled that the menorah was allowed to be in the public domain. 50 years ago was the first menorah. And I want to tell you a story that I heard that really epitomizes and encapsulates the Rebbe's vision and the Rebbe's cry and plea, going back to Judah and the Bible, never to give up on any Jew. This is a story about Rabbi Brisky, who was the first Chabad rabbi to Agura Hills. And one day, he gets a new neighbor at his home. He's there a few years. And he gets a new neighbor who moves in. And he invites him with his young daughter for Shabbos dinner. And then the guy comes a few times to Shabbos. And he starts coming to shul. And he takes a course. The course is on suffering and pain. And he comes and he cries through most of the course. And the rabbi meets with him. He asks the rabbi to meet with him. And Rabbi Brisky meets with this man. And he said, a few years ago, I was in a car accident and 2 of my children were killed. And It brought a terrible time to me and my wife. It broke our marriage, and we got separated. And here I was alone with one child. And life was so tough. How could I live with the fact that 2 of my children were killed in an accident that I was involved with? And I decided to take my life. But I said, before I take my life, I'm going to take my young daughter, who's 10 years old, and give her a treat about what she wants. Give her one good night out. And my daughter, I asked her, what do you want to do? And she told me she wants to watch this movie in the movie theater. And I booked to go to the movie theater in Simi Valley, in this small movie theater. And I watched the movie with my daughter. And as I come out, there's a few young Chabadniks. And they have a menorah, and they're doing a lighting, and one of them catches his eye on me, and he schleps me to come, and I pull away, and I tug away, and he says, no, come. And we watched the lighting menorah. There weren't many people, and they lit the menorah, and they danced, and they gave out latkes and donuts, and the rabbi spoke about the light of God that kindles every single Jew. And after we left, I said to myself, how could I take my life? Let me give it one more chance. I'm going to move with my daughter to a new community. And that's when I moved here. Rabbi Brisky is shocked. He can't even believe it. He says, hold on 1 minute. He runs to his study, and he takes out an album. He opens up an album. He says, I was the one. I was the rabbi. Look, here's the pictures of that lighting. He says, let me tell you what happened. He said, I had just moved, and I knew that the Rebbe wanted we should do public lightings wherever we could. And I wanted to do one every night to light the menorah in the outdoors, to bring the light, the warmth of Judaism to every Jew, every last Jew who's forsaken, who feels alone. And I went and I opened up the phone book. By the way, back then there was a phone book. I started looking. And then I said, I'm going to call the operator. I called the operator and I asked them for the mall. They said, which mall they want? I said, any first mall. So they give me the small, they give me the number, and I call up the mall. And I say, I want to make a lighting menorah. And they say, sure, no problem. And we set the night. That night I come, and I realized why it was so easy to come and to get it set up with that mall to light the menorah. Because every single last store in that mall had closed down. The only thing that was left open was the movie theater. I realized we're not going to have a crowd. We made all this effort. We brought a menorah. We brought latkes. We brought donuts. We planned to have hundreds of people. But I said, we're ready here. I told the yeshiva boys, let's go for it. We put up the menorah. We start lighting. And the movie's over. And a few people come out and we schlep them. And we say, we're going to dance. And we give them donuts and latkes. And we light the menorah. That day I went home. I was a little dejected. Spent all this effort. Didn't pay attention that I went to the wrong mall. And I wasted a night. And here I am, 3 years later, finding out that that night, with the Rebbe's vision of sending me to another mall, to light the menorah, to spread light, to spread love, we literally saved a person's life. That's the story of the Rebbe. The Rebbe pleaded, how could I go to my father? How could we face Almighty God? And then we tell you, we forget about the young, we forget about the future of Judaism, we forget about the forsaken Jew, the one who's lost, the one who's alone, the one who's hurt. That was what the Rebbe revolutionized. And in 50 years, this year alone, I probably got 20, 30 pictures of friends on vacation all over the world, from Paris to Aruba, to wherever else, to the Bahamas, to Puerto Rico, to Italy, sending me pictures of public lightings with Chabad rabbis where they are celebrating Hanukkah, wherever they are. Take your candle, light it, spread the love. We have a responsibility for each other to reach out and to share the love. Today at 3 p.m. we have a huge lighting at the Chestnut Hill shops. At the shops at Chestnut Hill, you're welcome to join us. There'll be latkes and donuts. There'll be a magic show, face painting, balloon twisting, a DJ, whatever it is to bring joy and happiness to everyone. Chag Sameach.